Hey, Kay Cooper, how are you doing? I thought we'd do a little live chat tonight. It won't be a very long one, I don't think. If I get to talking for too long, tell me to go to sleep. But I thought it'd be nice maybe for an hour or so if we got together. So, what's the scoop? Usually I search through the videos and see what's been going on, but I have been just way too busy to check it out. So, I've received a few emails though. It sounds like it's getting a little bit interesting again. Same old crap, different day. Just like a good soap opera, right? You can tune in a year later and Luke and Laura still are planning that wedding, right? I got a couple of emails from people saying that there were some videos made where the channel creators are saying Christopher Watts doesn't have any time left now because the 3 years is up. I thought that was kind of interesting because actually he has a few more months on the lesser charges, right? And I think it could probably even be argued that they were charges associated with, of course, the charges that don't have a statute of limitations time frame or limit, time limit. Exactly. They're not true crimers at all. I agree with you. Was it October? It might have been early November. Yeah, it was one or the other. But that's what the emails were saying is that people are saying the 3 years is up, so he's screwed, right? And I'm thinking, where do they get their information? Oh, that's right. Probably from one or two people who don't know what they're talking about. I'm telling you, it's a bunch of scripts. There are a bunch of scripts floating around, and people are just saying what they're supposed to say. Have you noticed, too, that they've hopped on that different case? Like everybody is all about that other case, and they are kind of acting the same way, I think, with that other case that they acted with this one right from the start. I had an interesting thought the other day, and I actually did a video that was like 25 minutes long, and I don't like those really long ones. And so I thought, well, I'll take this part of it and that part of it, and I'm not an editing queen at all. So I thought we might talk about the stuff I had in that video. Were they on there again? Or was that like a couple months ago? I love it. You and I are going to have this hour-long live chat where it's the two of us talking. Yeah, a couple months ago, I saw that. I thought that was interesting. Here's what I was thinking and what I talked about in that 25 minutes of trying to create that video and then hearing the whole thing and going, it's too long. But here's the thing. Back in the day, before the Violence Against Women and Children Act, the first one was passed in 1994. Back in the day, when there was domestic violence or child abuse going on, too often law enforcement would call it a family matter, specifically domestic violence. They would call it a family matter and they would close out the case. And in divorce actions, the court didn't even hear about domestic violence. But then in 1994, with the passage of the Violence Against Women and Children Act, the courts and law enforcement were compelled to care. And everything changed. And society soon learned that the survivor of domestic violence would often beg law enforcement and beg the courts to not prosecute the abuser. Society soon learned that oftentimes children who were abused wouldn't say so. It was almost as if they didn't know they were being abused. And society learned over time how to stand instead of the victim or survivor of domestic violence or child abuse and to speak for them, whether or not they even knew they were being abused, whether or not they wanted the abuser to be prosecuted, whether or not they were begging the courts not to prosecute, right? Not to hold the abuser accountable for their actions. Society stood in their place and said that even if the survivor of domestic violence doesn't want charges to be brought, that charges would be brought. And even if the survivor of domestic violence did not want the abuser to be convicted and sentenced and sent to jail, the abuser would be held accountable for their actions based on the evidence, right, that abuse had taken place. One specific area that the professionals learned over time in how to determine whether or not children were being abused, one specific area that they learned and that they would often discuss and that they would often be very quick to notice would be the look in the child's eyes, the facial expression of the child, whether or not the child was able to have direct eye contact with the interviewer, whether or not the child hesitated in their speech patterns. I mean, the list is long of what the professionals learned over time when determining whether or not the child had been abused, right? So tie that into those of us who are actually discussing the case of Christopher Watts, who are saying that we notice the look in Bella's eyes. We notice the look of sadness. We notice the look of fear. We notice the look of confusion. We notice how she seems to be so wanting to please her mother. We notice how she doesn't really act like a little 4-year-old girl. She kind of acts like a stage prop. And remember when she did start to act out in that one video when her mother said, "Do you need a haircut?" Well, those of us discussing this case who are actually true crimers, who are actually discussing this case, we noticed that, right? We noticed that and we said, what did that mean? Do you want a haircut? And we noticed the haircut. So why is it almost 30 years ago, society started to really care about the look in a child's eyes? And society cared so much about speaking for those children when those children maybe even didn't know themselves that what they were experiencing was abuse. And the same with spouses. Take a look at the videos. Take a look at the Santa video where Christopher Watts stands at the door in the silly Santa suit that fit him about as well as that tuxedo fit him, right? I think roughly 6 years, 5.5 years before, 5 years before. He stood there with the look of, I don't know what, doormat-itis on his face. And what did she do? She complained. She pretty much treated him like shit. And look at what happened when the girls didn't know where he was. That house fell apart in a nanosecond. Those girls wanted their dad. And what did she do? She rolled her eyes and she ridiculed the kids, right? After ridiculing him in the Santa suit. Now hop over to the Whack-A-Daddy video. She actually followed Bella around until Bella started crying. Why are we the only ones who are saying, hey, that's not okay? Christopher Watts was there on his knees, literally on his knees, waiting to get smacked in the face with a whipped cream. Well, Bella was basically trying to do the ostrich thing under the chair. Whose voice was heard? Well, it was another photo opportunity, right? Another opportunity to say what a wonderful mother she was because she had a screaming child. Well, that child wouldn't have been crying had she not antagonized her. That child would not have been crying had she had a voice. Hey, Star Mama. There are 3 of us now talking. 10 of us are watching and 3 of us are talking. Kay Cooper says, yep, SW was very abusive. It's not victim blaming, like some say. We're just stating a true and accurate observation. I agree with you. And here's Terry. When a woman is abused by her spouse and she stands up and she fights, then she's a hero, right? When a man is abused by his spouse, then society says, well, he should have manned up, right? And I'm guilty of saying that too, because I do think he should have manned up. He should have never shut that slider door on Bella when she was getting doused with water right in her little face. Why isn't society saying, wow, we want to know what happened to Christopher Watts behind closed doors? Why isn't society saying, we want to know what abuses he suffered through? You guys know the case of Mary Winkler. I've mentioned it before. When Mary Winkler shot her husband, society wanted to know what happened leading up to the incident. Society wanted to hear all about how she was treated by her husband. Hey, Private Pirate. So why is it that society isn't saying, how was Christopher Watts treated leading up to the tragedy? Well, society is saying it, but we're saying it in little discussion groups, right? Where we won't be attacked by a bunch of abusers for saying it. Which is what I love about our group here, because you know what? We're saying it. Yeah, we're getting attacked, but we're saying it. Because little Bella deserves for society to care about the look in her eyes. And you know, Christopher Watts is not my favorite person, okay? But Christopher Watts deserves to have the same consideration and respect that society extended to Mary Winkler. Terry says, I don't think people have really watched the videos. The first thing I ever saw was Christopher Watts' wife belittling Chris, and I knew something was really wrong. It wasn't how it was spun by the media. I agree with you, Terry. In fact, when I first looked at some of the videos, I was looking for warning signs that Christopher Watts was some kind of a badass, right? I was going to find the warning signs of domestic violence, and I couldn't find any warning signs at all that Christopher Watts was an abuser. None. And I'm sorry, but I do not believe, just my opinion, I do not believe that a man who catered to his wife and who cared for his children, who bathed them, who dressed them, who fed them, who for some odd reason picked them up from daycare after he got out of work. Isn't that odd? Well, it isn't odd if you know what we've been told, right? Then it makes sense. Christopher Watts worked all week, got out of work at the end of the day, drove home, parked wherever he was ordered to park, changed his clothes, got into the Lexus that we're told was a leased vehicle in his name, even though he stood back quietly while his wife claimed that it was her car that she earned because she was so successful, right? Got in the car, drove to the daycare center, and picked up his children. And remember, his wife claimed that she did more than 95% of the other women out there. But it was Christopher Watts who, after actually working all day, would drive back to the daycare center to pick up the children. What time was it? About 4:30? And gee, I wonder who made dinner. I think in his police interview, he said that his wife would often make pizza. I think it was pizza and noodles. I think were pretty much the staples in the Watts household from the way he spoke. So he works all day, picks up the kids. He either fixes dinner and feeds the kids, or they enjoy pizza or noodles. And then the kids get their baths, get dressed for bed. And remember, we're told that at 6:30 at night, it was evidently me time. We're told by Cindy Watts that the girls were given their nightcap of Tylenol and Benadryl and put to bed. So what did he do all evening? Did he take care of his wife? That's true. Don't forget the chicken strips. Star Mama says those videos speak volumes, and we care about those babies who were exposed to social media and their mom's mental issues. Here's Sandy. So what's the scoop in the, I don't want to say the true crime corner, because really, they're not. What's the scoop lately? Anything interesting? Anything newsworthy? The one thing I noticed is I received a couple of emails saying that people are making videos about how Christopher Watts doesn't have any chance of appeal now because 3 years have gone by. And we talked about it when we first started, that actually the 3 years haven't gone by yet. So it's interesting that people are making those videos, because that isn't how it works. I did see one interesting thing. Somebody sent me a link to this really interesting thing. I won't say which channel because it doesn't matter which one. And anyway, they're all the same anyway. But on one channel, one guy was saying how people are committing defamation against him. And he said that he knows people, or he knows people who, I guess, know people who work right at YouTube, and that they're going to evidently be able to take down channels if they say bad things about him. Well, isn't that hoity-toity? Boy, to have those kinds of connections, right? Hey, buddy of a buddy of a buddy, take down that channel because they said something nasty. Boy. Good point, Star Mama. Christopher Watts did the wash. He made the lunches. He got the girls' school bags ready. What did his wife do? What was the 95% more blah, blah, blah? What did she do? The girls were at the daycare center. He was at work. What did she do? We know that she made videos. We know that she ordered products. But it doesn't take that much time to make videos and order products. We know she got her nails done. Yep, she did her Facebook live streams. And you know, she did some where she would say the girls were sleeping. I wonder if they were sleeping at the daycare center, quite frankly. Remember the one where she said she was going to the post office? It kind of sounded to me like she was saying on her live chat that she was going to run off to the post office while the girls were sleeping. So like I said, I think they probably were taking a nap at the daycare center. Yvette Kennedy says she went to a lot of seminars for her job. Sandy says, didn't Christopher Watts do most of the house cleaning also? It sure looked that way, didn't it? She did spend a lot of time complaining about what a hot mess she was. I think that was so people would say, oh no, honey, you look wonderful. You got this. Sandy says, well, the doors did have locks. Oh my goodness. I don't know. Maybe she did go while they were sleeping. If she did, if she was presenting herself as being alone with the girls, which I don't think she was, but if that's how she was presenting herself, as being alone with the girls and she was just going to run off to the post office and leave two little ones alone in the house, are you kidding me? Then I'll ask the question that I ask in a lot of videos. Why weren't the children taken from the home? And another question is, if somebody was responsible for monitoring that family, who was it and why didn't they expect the girls to be safe? Do you guys remember how Cindy Watts told us about the day, I think it was Christopher Watts' birthday, and they were all in the living room, and Christopher Watts' wife was sitting right in the center, and all eyes were on her while she was talking. And Cindy looked around and said, where's Christopher? And she couldn't think of where the heck is he. So she went going like through the house. She went through the house looking for him. And she found him upstairs, hanging up wet laundry, just right. And she said, Christopher, it's your birthday. Come on down and join us. It's your birthday. What are you doing? And he said he couldn't because he had to make sure he got the clothes hung up just right before they started to dry. If he was a woman, and we learned that leading up to the tragedy, that there was fear about getting the clothes hung up just right before they started to dry, how many of us would be saying, that is abuse? And remember how Cindy told us everybody walked on eggshells around her daughter-in-law. Why? Because they were afraid of upsetting her? Because they were afraid of her temper? They were afraid of making her angry? Private Pirate says, remember that video where she made it sound like she was taking the girls to the zoo by herself, and then you see her mom walk by in the background? Yeah, I think she had to have her special premium juju or something, right? To have the energy to handle the monsters, right? And oh yeah, she was doing it all by herself, everything by herself. And then her mother went running real quick. And I don't think she realized that the video picked up her mother running in the background. She had her parents living in the basement, right? But she evidently presented herself as having to do everything, okay? You know, doing 95% more, 90% more, whatever it was. Doing more than 95% of the other women, I think she said the other women out there. More what? I think she may have done 90 or 95% more of the other women out there of ordering products from MLMs. Sandy says, how many months was it? Just the 4 of them. Christopher Watt's parents stayed with them. Christopher Watt's in-laws also stayed with them. And then her friend stayed with him also. And the brother stayed there also. And they stayed with another friend for a year. So let's see. They got married in November of 2012. The tragedy happened in August of 2018. So it would be, help me here. It would be, I think, 5 years and 9 months. So is that right? Yeah. So 5 years and 9 months. So let's see, 5 years would be 60. So 69 months total. Okay. They stayed the first year with, I guess, in the basement of that nurse who was some kind of, I'm not sure, was she a psych nurse back then already? Don't you think it's interesting, too, that the friend who stayed with her was a nurse? She stayed with a nurse. Caregivers all around, right? But they stayed there before the wedding. So let's see here. We'll just count. Well, I think that closing on the house was in May of 2012. So we'll say June, July, August, September, October, November. Okay, so we'll just go with 6 months there. I'm talking since the wedding. So if we're talking 69 months, 6 months at least of their marriage, they were living in a basement that belonged to, I think, a psych nurse. I'm not sure. So that brings us to 63. I think the brother was there for a month or two, so we'll just say one. So 62. I think the parents lived there from, what was it, 15 months? I think it was 15 months. So we're at 62, so 52, so 47. And then that one friend was there a month and a half. We'll say a month, so 46. So let's see. We'll throw a month in there for the in-laws, for Christopher Watt's parents, because they went out there like a week at a time here and there. What number was I at? 47 or 46? I don't know. Who else? Well, look at that. If it's 46 or 47 out of 69. Have you guys ever lived in somebody else's house? So we're talking, let's see, 23, 23, and 23. We're talking 1/3 of their marriage at least. 1/3 of their marriage at least. Oh, wait a minute. What about the 6 weeks? So there's another month and a half. So we're 45. So more than 1/3 of their marriage, they were either living with other people or other people were living with them. Good point, Private Pirate. What about in the Indiana Facebook posts, right? That was a month. So there we have another 2.5 years. No, I'm kidding. 2.5 months. So, okay. I mean, it seems pretty obvious that they were very comfortable either living with other people or having other people live with them. Have you ever, in your married life, moved in other people for a year or for 15 months or for a month and a half? Have you ever had a friend stay with you for a month or a month and a half after you had surgery? Have you ever posted on social media that you were checking out at a hospital on a daily basis in a state far, far away? I don't know. Have you ever left your husband for 6 weeks over the summer? Star Mama says, I would never put my parents in a cold, damp basement. Exactly, Sandy. Exactly. It's great to visit, right? But I don't know. And that whole Indiana thing, let's look at the time frame. Was that 2016? Right, because CC was born in 2015. So it was for a month or a month and a half in like April, I think, maybe May in 2016. And then, wow, that's right when all the both kids are sick again. Both kids are sick again started over and over again on what seemed to be a monthly basis at least. And they weren't just sick for a day either. Oh, Bella's been sick for 9 days straight. Yes, Sandy, the brother, the other friend. And then look at when the marriage was obviously over. which I think it was over long before. What were they talking about doing? Moving in friends. Yeah. Don't ever, decide to pay your own mortgage because remember, she was so successful. Nope, you got to move in a bunch of friends. Nurses, no less. Weren't they nurses? I'm still here. I'm just trying to figure out my little foot heater. I'll be right back. There, that's better. I couldn't figure it out at first. But my little toes are warm now. I love Sandy, how honest you are about that. My parents visited us for a week and I was already going crazy. Yes, I agree. Success, in my opinion, has nothing to do with money. It is very interesting to look at the timeline, especially if you start the timeline. Well, I was going to start it with the Indiana routine, but you know what? I think the timeline could be started with a bankruptcy for sure. Star Mama says, wouldn't leave my husband for more than 3 days. My house would be a disaster or my kitchen burnt down. LOL, lots of love. The scoop in the TCC is riddled with BS. LOL, lots of love. What does the scoop in the true crime community? What what is the scoop? Is that how they're all saying that his time is up now? His 3 years is up, so now he's screwed. Mary says he was in the background hanging wet laundry when his wife was doing the video with the charcoal mask. And just reverse the roles. Do you remember when he was supposed to take a friend to the airport and she said that he couldn't take him to the airport until he finished cleaning the basement? If that was a husband saying that to a wife, then wouldn't society be saying, hey, wait a minute, that's abuse? Do you remember the video where she said that he'll do whatever she tells him to do? And she was kind of like ridiculing him. If that was a husband saying that about his wife, society would be saying that's abuse. And it isn't in a vacuum either, right? It isn't just one incident that people can say, oh, they were just being silly or they were just teasing each other or whatever. And you guys, if you know about abuse, you know there's a whole lot of teasing going on, right? Just kidding. Oh, no, he didn't push her. She tripped and she fell. She's a klutz. Yeah, she threw herself down the stairs. Yeah. Right? No big deal. Nothing to see here, folks. If a man had total control over the finances and a woman had no clue how broke they were, what would society be saying? That's abuse. Control freak. Won't even let her have access to her own paycheck. He's an abuser. Have you ever taken a look at one of those videos and noticed how Christopher Watts' smile seems kind of blank, like fake, like he knows he better smile? Well, if he was the wife and if she was the husband, you know what society would be saying? He was afraid of her. Oh, I forgot about the calendar. Oh my gosh. You guys want to do the calendar tonight? I totally forgot. Erin is reminded of the video that she took of them playing chess and she is humiliating the absolute crap out of him. Is that the one where he's standing up and she's on the phone with somebody making fun of him? I think she called him a loser. Star Mama says, I don't think they were happy for a long time. They tried to hide the issues to put a front on for everyone around them. I think that they were miserable as soon as Christopher Watts saw, I think, a side to his wife that he hadn't seen before he married her. That's just my opinion. I think she was as happy as she could be, and I think he was feeling trapped when she became pregnant with Bella so fast after the wedding. Exactly. There are so many examples. And again, reverse the roles. If that was a woman standing there at that, life size checkers, whatever it was, and a man, the husband, sitting on the phone ridiculing his wife, and the woman was standing there all by herself doing what she was told to do and getting ridiculed, society would say that's an abuser on that phone ridiculing his wife. So why are we the only ones saying it? Maybe that's not the right question. Maybe the right question is, why are we the only ones saying it out loud? Sandy, that's a good point. It seemed like he was letting her win, which makes it even more sad. Probably didn't want to piss her off, you know. But if that was a woman standing there, society would be up in arms over it. And nobody would be shy about saying how abusive the spouse was. Nobody would be shy at all about saying that. Star Mama says, remember when SW put CW outside in the winter, half dressed, no keys, billfold, phone, nothing. And she physically shoved him out the door. And it started, we're told, when Christopher Watts simply stated his opinion on something that she didn't like. She physically shoved him out the door. If he was the woman and she was the man, then he would have been a victim of domestic violence. And you know what? Some victims of domestic violence only need to be physically assaulted one time before they do whatever it is they have to do to keep their abuser happy. Aaron says the let's canonize SW narrative makes me physically ill. Do not let it make you physically ill at all. Don't let it. Say a prayer of protection against all of the evil crap that's being said, that's being done. Say a prayer of protection and remind yourself that we have the right and we have the freedom to discuss this case and to state our opinions about this case. And as you listen to so many of the lies that we hear, just chalk it up to another part of what happens when I guess we're supposed to just poo-poo abuse away. You know, there's an old phrase that people have used for decades, and that is that there's a special place in hell for child abusers. And I'll add another part to that phrase. I think there's a special place in hell for people who make excuses for child abusers too. Sandy says, I would like to know what people who don't know about this case think of the videos. I do know this, that after that Netflix movie came out, I received phone calls from people who were aware that I was being attacked by a bunch of scumbag attackers connected to this case. After watching that Netflix flick, I call it the docudrama. I don't call it a documentary. And their question for me, over and over again, was whether or not I thought he was innocent, whether or not I thought he killed the kids or she killed the kids. And I found that very interesting because I think that the makers of that movie probably figured it'd be a slam dunk. Christopher Watts is terrible and his wife was perfect, right? But I don't think that's the impression that people got from that Netflix flick. I think they watched that and they thought, whoa, so who hurt those babies, right? Yes, exactly, Aaron. The countless pictures of those babies with blankets over their faces. Who does that? Who does that? And remember, Munchausen by proxy. Number 1, poisoning. Number 2, malnutrition. Number 3, smothering. Sandy says, Star Mama, I must have accidentally blocked you. I always listen with my headphones and phone in my pocket while doing laundry or the dishes. I was wondering why I couldn't see you. LOL. Lots of love. If you walk into your baby's room and their head's covered with a blanket, and what were those blankets doing in the beds, in their crib especially, right? Those blankets, come on, right? And the pillows, are you kidding? Those pillows and blankets didn't belong in a crib to begin with. But if you see that your baby's face is covered, you're going to grab your phone and take a picture and post it on Facebook and think it's a good thing? No, you're going to be whipping that blanket off that baby's face so fast and picking that baby up and making sure your baby's breathing. Nope, time for a picture. Hey, Christy. Sandy says, the blankets and pillows in the crib. Man, I just can't. Surely the hospital told them not to put anything in the crib. I would say anybody by the time they turn 30, by the time they turn 20, I don't know, maybe by the time they turn 10, would figure out that you shouldn't have those blankets and pillows in a crib, right? I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I had my first babysitting job when I was 11. At age 11, I would have known not to have those blankets and pillows in a crib. Oh, good. Ray's here. Ray's lurking. How are the babies, Ray? Yes. Why were they always thirsty? I have a theory on that. I'm thinking they were hungry and that they learned that having more water would help them not feel hungry. Exhausting, so they're just doing their job. They're just doing their job. Keep mama tired for the next 18 years or so. When I had my oldest, my mother said to me, get a good night's sleep. You know, when I was in the hospital, that was back in the day when we got to stay a few days in the hospital. You know, nowadays it's like, oh, gee, 24 hours. You're doing great. Bye-bye. But my mom said to me, get a really good night's sleep because this will be the last night that you get a good night's sleep for the next 18 years. Yes, poor little Cece hanging on the edge of the counter, right? Hanging on for dear life. And what does her mother do? She stands around the corner taking her little video. And you know, there are a couple of different pictures too. That wasn't a one-time thing. So why isn't society saying very loudly and very clearly, we notice the look in Bella's eyes? We notice that Christopher Watts seemed afraid of his wife. We also noticed that Bella and Cece did not seem to have age-appropriate vocabularies, speech, behavior, appearance, interests, confidence, I could keep going. Exactly, Proverbs. Forget safety first. Let's hit the record button. Yes, and the pool picture. Exactly. With the bruises on Bella. Did anybody say, wow, what happened? And what about the location of those bruises? Did anybody question it at all? And I'll say it again, who was responsible? If there was an open case, which is what we've been told by a lot of different people, and to me it seems pretty damn believable, then who was responsible for monitoring that family to make damn sure that Bella and Cece were safe? Why weren't Bella and Cece removed from that home long before the tragedy occurred? Ray said, I've been watching Banana begging for super chats to play more CW prison recordings. He sounds like a weak little man in those recordings. I think he is a very weak person. I do. I think that it's going to take a lot of specialized care for him to ever get to the point of speaking the truth of what was going on behind closed doors. Aaron says those bruises were grab marks. Sandy says, with all the doctor's appointments, you'd think they would have noticed the bruises and malnutrition. Star Mama says, those girls got excited over a new water bottle. That was strange to me. And the vision board was ridiculous. I want a bite. Put it on your vision board. I think it was, I want to buy, oh, you want a laptop? Well, what do you do when you want something? Yeah, put it on the vision board. No, she didn't want a laptop. And a whole bunch of strangers could hear her clearly say that she wanted a bite, right? But her own mother thought she said she wanted a laptop. I wonder, did she tell Bella before the record button was hit? Did she tell Bella that she wanted her to ask for a laptop, maybe? I don't know. Maybe Bella missed her lines, right? Aaron said, Sandy, I think people did notice. Proverbs says her family failed her by not insisting that she receive mental health help. It's no longer taboo. I don't know why nobody helped her. I think she was receiving help. I think that she was receiving help. And I do believe the people who have insisted that there was an open case and that the family was being closely monitored. And I think the glaring question in my mind is, why weren't Bella and Cece removed from that home? Ray said the tribute videos have gone wild this week with people pretending to care about the girls. Yes, Sandy, the court hearings. There were 2 court hearings scheduled. And right after the tragedy occurred, we were told by a family member that one of the court hearings that was scheduled was for an ongoing family matter. Aaron says, and yes, let's deny the kids even crap food like sugar-filled Thrive bars. And with nuts, right? Or nut, whatever. Oh, but they have allergies. Oh, deathly allergic, severely anaphylactic. Let's have a hissy fit and tell off our mother-in-law. Wait a minute. Was it peanuts? Or was it tree nuts? Little confusion there. Exactly, Star Mama. I didn't see any bananas, apples, or oranges in any of the videos. Now, I haven't watched all of them, so maybe there's a banana somewhere. but I haven't, you know, noticed any healthy foods going on at all. Yes, the opposite flavor. She's like, which one do you want? And so she tells her, and then it's the other one. That poor little girl, I'll tell you, that poor little girl. And again, look at the look in her eyes. Lots of marshmallows, lots of Tylenol, and lots of marshmallows. Yes, and the kids were so wild. You know, the monsters, right? I was just thinking about Casey Anthony and the home videos that Casey Anthony had with her daughter, Kaylee. She was connected to Kaylee. They were spending a lot of time together. They colored, they read books, they had a lot of fun times together. They were connected, right? Casey Anthony was right on the floor playing with her daughter. Casey Anthony was found not guilty. And yet society wants to pretend that she's guilty. She isn't. She was found not guilty, right? And people want to say, oh, Christopher Watt's wife can't defend herself. Well, what about Casey Anthony? How is Casey Anthony supposed to defend herself against all the people who are attacking her? Right? And I know a lot of people like to talk against her. I don't. I think it was an accident. And I think she was very fortunate to have a very good lawyer who helped her at trial. I don't think she murdered her daughter at all. And I think she loved her daughter, and I think she was bonded with her daughter. I think in a lot of ways she was a really good mom. So we watch all the videos of Christopher Watt's wife where we're going like, get the child down off the counter, stop calling the children names, do not spray water in her face, right? And society wants to say, oh, she was a perfect mother. Really? Erin says she has a 13-year-old. Talk about wild. Yeah, if Bella and Cece were actually considered wild by anybody, then they don't know what wild means. They weren't wild at all. They were hungry, probably. Ray says they were not wild, they were terrified. When they were jumping in the living room, little Bella looks like she's waiting to get told off. Again, the look in her eyes, watching, the confusion, the sadness, and sometimes the fear. You guys know that it's normal in cases of domestic violence and child abuse for the victims to deny that the abuse is even happening. And you know that professionals are very skilled, are highly skilled at being able to interview victims. And they can tell by facial expressions and they can tell by what isn't being said, right? Well, what, 2 videos, 3 videos? There's a whole lot not being said. I agree. Erin says half the time Chris looked terrified. I agree completely. And I think anytime he was doing the smile, I think he looked, if he was female, he would look exactly like a victim of domestic violence. Sandy says the video in the restaurant where Bella is mimicking and gets shut down, she was just copying her grandmother and thought they were playing. It is so heartbreaking. I was surprised by that video, actually. I was very surprised. It was like, nope, eat your food or something like that. It's like, what? Aaron says, I wonder how many suicide threats were made. I wonder how many suicide attempts were made. Hey, Crystal. Crystal says, hi, MMN. I'm not talking right. Crystal says, hi, and chat. The kids probably had lots of energy considering they spent most of their time asleep. Maybe they were like wired for more Tylenol. I don't know. Star Mama says, I think of the video where the girls were watching cartoons. Bella had Cece in her lap and told SW, don't take her away. Is that the one where she had her arm around her and she was like, no, don't take her? That was one protective 4-year-old, if you ask me. And I do think that that's why Cece was a lot more active than Bella, because I think Bella was very protective of Cece, so I think Cece didn't carry the weight of the world on her shoulders. But remember what Cindy said, Bella was afraid of everything. She was afraid of the dirt. She was afraid of the rain. She was afraid of everything. Star Mama, is that the video where Bella had like a nervous tick? And then she very quickly like put her hand to her mouth? I can't remember if that was in the same video or not. Sandy says that much Tylenol can really mess up the brain's chemical balance. And the liver chemical balance too, I think. Ray says, my children, if they went to bed at 6:30 p.m. and nap, they'd be up at 4 a.m. for the day. And that's exactly what a 6:30 sleep would be, a nap. Most parents, I think, at 6:30 would say, wake them up, or they're not going to go to sleep, right? Wake them up. Make noise. Crystal Clear says, too much bedtime. Only chance to run around like normal kids. Aaron says, poor Bella was just a broken child. And you know what? That's exactly how I feel. I think she was a broken child. If that's the one where she did that growl, I think that was like a nervous tick. And then she put her hand up, I think, quick. Like it wasn't the first time, but she also didn't want it to happen, you know? Which makes you wonder, I guess. What happened when it happened, if you know what I'm saying. Proverbs says, I think Bella had so much fear instilled in her. She was always on edge. I agree. Proverbs says, my kid didn't even go to sleep at 6:30 when she had the virus. LOL. Lots of love. Sandy says 6:30 is dinner time in our house. It doesn't even get dark until almost 10. Exactly. If a child falls asleep at 6:30, then seriously, you're making noise. You're making a lot of noise because you want them to go to bed at a good time later, right? But remember, weren't their neighbors saying they didn't even know that children lived there? And they lived there for, since they were born, right? Bella was almost 5. No way, Crystal Clear. I haven't heard that one yet. No way. She had carpal tunnel too? How does one body have lupus, fibromyalgia? I can't say it. I'll just say fibro. I'll try it again. Fibromyalgia, but it'll be henceforth known as fibro. How does one body have lupus, fibro, endo this, endo that, whatever, endometriosis, fertility issues? I can't think. Wasn't there celiac disease on top of that and that Sjogren's? How does one body have all of that? And then carpal tunnel too, really? From what? From holding her hand for the manicurist in a certain position for too long? Star Mama says, one neighbor never saw SW or the girls. Sandy says, fertility issues, yet gets pregnant when she wants. Exactly. 4 months after the wedding? Fertility issues? I don't think so. Crystal said she texted back in 2013 she won't be sending Christmas cards this year because of her carpal tunnel. Oh, for Pete's sake. Carpal tunnel from what? Ugh. So for all of you who have actually suffered from carpal tunnel, are you pissed? For any of you who have lupus, are you pissed? How about fibro? I won't try to say the whole word. Doesn't it kind of irritate you? How about fertility issues? Does it bug you? Proverbs says, I know with many autoimmune diseases, there's a primary and often a secondary, but come TF on, one cannot have 12 illnesses. Sandy says, neighbor Betty, ? I think I remember her saying in the body cam footage she never really saw her. What? I don't know what that means, Aaron. I think it was Christopher Watts who had cancer and she saved his life because she detected it early. Except I don't think he ever knew he had cancer, so I don't know how that works. So could it be that actually what she had was an interest in joining support groups on social media so that she could try to push her MLM products? SW said that she had hepatitis? Yes, Sandy, the cancer. Yes, she saved his life because she detected his cancer early, the cancer that he never knew he had. And wasn't she trying to save his life from diabetes too? Because according to Christopher Watts' wife, didn't his family suffer from diabetes? Wasn't it running in his family? Except according to Cindy Watts, that wasn't true. Ray says, I think maybe she's like a sponge person where she takes on the same persona or ailments of those she met to relate to them. I think she was on disability for mental issues, probably from the time she was diagnosed, in my opinion, probably in her teens. And I think that she liked to have the attention that claiming she had all those diseases gave her. I think she learned at a very early age that going doctor to doctor to doctor was a good way to get attention. And I think she learned at an early age that if she claimed that she had some sort of serious crap going on, then she could kind of run the people around her, like try to control them. Kind of like the nut meltdown, right? I mean, if she was just going to have a meltdown and start yelling at her mother in law, it probably would have been pretty obvious. But since she played into the whole, protecting her daughter's life because her daughter was deathly allergic and severely anaphylactic, then that's a whole different scenario, right? I think it was about power and control, and that's what abusers do. They want total power and control over those around them. Yes, that's my opinion. I do believe she was an abuser. I do believe she was an abuser. Abusers are also known to not be truthful. And I think that the legacy of an abuser who was not truthful, I guess then it would follow, would be a bunch of scumbag attackers who aren't truthful either. Proverbs says that she had a seeking attention disorder, or maybe she had some kind of a not quite with reality disorder. I'm not sure. Erin says she's kind of surprised she didn't pull a cancer scam. I don't know, maybe she did, and maybe it got scrubbed before we noticed it. It wouldn't surprise me a bit if there was a cancer scam that went on. Do you guys remember how she posted? Well, no, I'm sorry. It was supposedly a friend of hers using her Facebook group or her Facebook profile to post, what do they call it, e-begging for money to help her fly to her sick grandmother. Except here's the thing, she had already flown to her sick grandmother. So how does that make any sense? I think the post should have read, she needs help paying her credit card bill. So maybe we could take up a collection so she can pay her credit card bill that she, used that credit card to go visit her grandmother. Star Mama says, Sandy, some guy down the road when they were handing out flyers didn't know they lived there. I remember that. He said he never saw her before, I think, didn't recognize her at all. And they lived there for years. And they lived right by that corner, too. Sure seems to me somebody would have noticed her, right? And that guy wasn't that far away. Like Star Mama says, the detectives had a strange look on their faces when he said that it was like 3 houses down from them. And he said he never saw her before. Yes, Sandy, and I think that's what she used social media for. We had a couple of people hop up on panel who were in those groups. One of them told us that she got kicked out of those Facebook groups a lot and that people in the groups did not believe she had lupus. Remember that one guy who said that he and his wife had to change their phone numbers because she wouldn't stop harassing them by phone? His wife actually did have lupus, and she would not stop harassing them, trying to push the MLM stuff. That lupus fundraiser was interesting, wasn't it? Hey, if you're going to be a cash donor, you can just give me the money and I'll mail it in for ya. And the laptop giveaway, I think it was what was it? Was it a laptop or was it something else? I can't remember. What's the other word? Yeah, she had that drawing, right? And then what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks later, she was talking about her brand new whatever it was. It wasn't a laptop. What was it? Yes, she got tossed out of those groups for trying to claim that her products cured her. Yeah, for an iPad. That was it. That was it. Thank you. Yes. The scam wasn't it that she had a raffle for an iPad and then there was never the winning whatever, but a couple 3 weeks later she was talking about her brand new iPad. Did she do it again with the watch? Did she do a raffle for it? I hadn't heard about that. Star Mama said that about how she was claiming that the products cured her. You know, she told a couple of different people at least that she no longer had lupus, right? I mean, I didn't know she found the cure for lupus, right? So think about that. She told two people in her life, at least two people. One of them told me that it was said directly to that person by Christopher Watt's wife that she was cured. She no longer had lupus. She was no longer sick with lupus. She was cured. So, what's that tell you? If her own words were that she did not have lupus, then why on earth are people so up in arms when we say we don't think she had lupus? If she said it herself, exactly. If the Colorado air allowed her to stop taking 28 pills per day, then I think everybody should move to Colorado. Exactly. Ray says, I'm sure the medical board would love to cure lupus with a patch. I call those caffeine coated band aids. I think at first I called them caffeine coated Scooby Doo band aids. I wonder if anybody who has been hooked on signing up for MLMs has learned from this case that maybe signing up for multi-level marketing companies might not be a good plan. Kay Cooper says it tells me that she's a liar, a scammer, and selfish. In my opinion, she was mentally ill, and I think she was living in an alternate universe. Star Mama says Mr. Lindstrom said if she saw an illness on television, she would have it. Exactly. I think he was probably the most open and honest person ever interviewed. He said all she had to do was see a commercial on television about some illness she hadn't heard of before, and then she'd have it too. Ray Ray says, why did she leave all her family to live in Colorado, then fly them over to live with them? I personally think the reason they moved in was because of mental illness. Aaron says, all that product in the basement literally blew my mind. People are saying it was like, I think it was $27,000 worth. I wonder if that's how much she needed to buy in order to be able to have Christopher Watts sign a lease to get the Lexus. Star Mama says her and her friend, I'm not sure if she was she maybe the caregiver also, I'm not sure, wore those patches pregnant, which I read was a no-no. I cannot imagine that any OBGYN would say, sure, go ahead and wear that while you're pregnant. No problem. Oh, but wait, she wasn't going in for prenatal care, was she? Hi, Pixie Doll. Pixie Doll says she believes her lies. I do believe that she was believing her lies. I do believe it. And I believe that some days she was believing different lies than others. Proverbs says, oopsie. Proverbs says, I think she was on the run. Sandy says, this just shows there needs to be way more mental health awareness. Well, that's an interesting statement because you know what? I think there's plenty of mental health awareness. I think I'm trying to think of what I want to say here. I think there is plenty of mental health awareness. I think the problem with this case is the gender, because Christopher Watts is a man, so he's just ignored, right? All the signs and symptoms are just ignored by society. You know, look at the awareness that we have when we watch those videos and we see the look in Bella's eyes, right? So the awareness, the training, the experience, the issues surrounding domestic violence and child abuse have already been explored and addressed. And, you know, we've learned a lot in the last 30 years. So the awareness is there, but there's something fishy here with this case because all of a sudden we all want to pretend that we don't see it, right? And I don't mean us. You know, present company excluded. Aaron says, wasn't she forbidden to drive with the babies in the car? That's what we've been told, is that was part of the open case against her, is what we've been told by people who insist that there was an open CPS case against her, that she was not allowed to travel with the children at all. She was not allowed to drive with the children in the car. She was not allowed to be alone with the children at all. That's what we were told. Ray said, didn't she only just meet CW? Why did he agree to move there when she had no job? Well, she met him on August 10th of 2010, and we're told that she quit her job 3 weeks later. And then it was January, I think the end of January, when he moved there ahead of time, when she claimed that her doctor told her she had to move there. But that was the month that she claimed she was starting the nursing program. Yeah, sure she was. Yeah, sure. Proverbs says she was her biggest client and her own worst enemy. Kay Cooper says, oh, absolutely, Mensa. I 110% agree. SW had serious mental issues that none of her quote-unquote friends ever helped her with. Maybe they were caregivers. Maybe they were even hired caregivers. Who knows? Star Mama says yes, 27,000 of different MLM products in the basement. That takes a lot of credit cards, doesn't it? Aaron says that is insane. Kay Cooper says yes, 27,000. Ray says 27,000? Proverbs says 27,000 in products in the totes stored in the basement. I kind of wonder about all those nebulizers and stuff too. I wonder if somehow she got those off of Amazon.com or something. Star Mama says she had, I think it's LuLaRoe or LuLaRoe or something, leggings and tops for all ages, blah, blah, blah. She had a party one day, racks of those items in the formal dining area. There's a video. I saw that video. That's the one where poor little Bella's running around hoping to get a little bit or bite or whatever. Erin says she had to hide the pregnancy from Chris before they got married as well. Yeah, the fertility issue. Shannon Watts. Didn't they say it was a miracle she could get pregnant? She sure got pregnant a lot for someone who it was a miracle that she could get pregnant. And at what point did the fertility specialist get involved? Was it before the wedding? No way. Was it within 4 months after the wedding? No, wait. Was it when Bella was 10 months old and she got pregnant again? No, wait. Was it a couple of weeks after she was peppering the lawyer with questions all about divorce? No, I doubt it. Proverbs says, does anyone think that CW's wife was pregnant with someone else's baby? I think there are probably many of us here who think that CW's wife was pregnant with somebody else's baby at some point. Ray says buying her way into MLM Person of the Month so she could claim MLM as a job and she was making money. Are you talking about the magazine thing? Because the magazine thing, anybody could be in the magazine. They didn't have to be like a Person of the Month or anything. I kind of wonder if they had to pay money to be in the magazine, though. Proverbs says, I did not know about the leggings. Thank you, Star Mama. The only way I first knew about the leggings was because the scumbag attackers included a lot of people from a certain MLM who really liked those leggings, if you know what I'm saying. Our Facebook discussion groups were bombarded with the leggings people trying to get in. Ray says it would be a miracle if you had all those ailments. Crazy. I think crazy is the ailment that she had. Kate Cooper says, y'all, I've been starting to wonder lately that just maybe SW was not even pregnant. Oh my goodness, you and me both, honey. You and me both. You and me and about 100 and, even more than that. A couple hundred other people, at least, who are vocal about it. SW loved being pregnant because she got all of the attention, but seemed like she did not love being an actual parent. I don't think that's why she wanted to get pregnant or say she was pregnant. I think she got pregnant each time she thought Christopher Watts was ready to walk. I think when they got married, I think that the side of her maybe that he saw after the wedding that he didn't see before the wedding may have come out. And I think she got pregnant fast. And then I think when she was pregnant with Bella, I think at the 32-week mark, she had some serious issues going on mentally because she did this journal of Bella Watts, right? A blog. And all of a sudden at the 32-week mark, she quit and didn't put anything else on it. I think she had some serious issues going on. And I think that's exactly why she got pregnant so fast after she had Bella, that she got pregnant so fast with Cece. I think that Christopher Watts was somehow convinced that as long as Bella was an infant, that he would have a tough time really getting custody. She was 10 months old. And poof, she got pregnant with Cece. The fertility challenged maven got pregnant when the baby was 10 months old. You know, a lot of OBGYNs will tell you to wait a year in between, right? Aaron says, Ray, and pregnant before she met Chris. Proverbs says she was really pregnant before meeting Chris. Aaron says, Proverbs, I think so, yes. Kay Cooper says, oh, bingo, at Mensa. I agree, got pregnant to capture CW. Proverbs says, wow, I haven't heard that. Thank you, Aaron. Proverbs, where have you been? Ray says, why using Cece's pregnancy photo for the 15 weeks, but would the medical report lie and say she was pregnant after she died? How would they get away with that? You know, if you would have asked me that question 2.5 years ago, I would have thought, no way. But with all that we've seen, all that we've heard, all the changing stories, all the lies we've been told, and even also being told that we'll never know the truth because they don't tell people like us, nothing about this case would surprise me. I like your name. That's a cute name. La Lady Joker. On the video where he holds Dieter, she puts him down, and it appears he wiped a tear away. She made him cry. Aww. Was that the one where she said, not you, Chris, the other Chris? Because that one he looked kind of sad too. And back to the Ray comment here. How would they get away with that? I think it's very interesting that there was no mention on the autopsy about the scar on the neck. I think that's very interesting. And I think it's interesting that the autopsy is saying that the kids had allergies too. I don't know how that would work in an autopsy exactly, right? Sandy says, wow, the chat number is going up fast. Yeah, they're probably like, oh no, look at that. It's after 3 years. And we just got through making a whole bunch of videos saying Christopher Watts is stuck in prison for life because it's after 3 years. And these BOBs must know better, right? They're still talking about the case. How dare they still talk about the case? We've heard it all before, haven't we? Kay Cooper says, too much corruption with that system in Colorado. I do believe they would fake documents. Well, you know, right after the case hit, not right after, but a month or so after, there was a quick claim deed that suddenly was no longer on the public site. That was interesting. Aaron says the woman was a literal baby machine. Infertility, LOL. Like, yeah, right. Proverbs says, I think she was having an affair with, oops. Proverbs, take out names if you can. Somehow either delete that one or I don't know how. I can't from this end, so take out the name, please. Because here's my take on that situation. I think that whatever her feelings may have been, I think that there are a lot of innocent families and people and whatever involved in this situation, including NK, who shouldn't be discussed You know what I'm saying? Like we can discuss issues, but not like put their name right out there. You know what I'm saying? Sandy says another strange thing about the autopsy, the drawing of the body that shows marks or anything had the wrists circled. Ooh. Some people say it's the bags that Ellie put around her hands. Makes you wonder, huh? And I'm trying to think. The people who were saying how she was in the support groups, weren't they saying that they thought that she was in suicide support groups too? I'm not sure. Seems like it. Proverbs says lupus wasn't detected at autopsy. Well, not reported in it. Star Mama says the brace on her neck is the wrong kind for that kind of surgery. She bought that on Amazon, I think. I saw one for $24, just like hers. Proverbs, that's okay. That's okay. I'm glad you grabbed it. Oops. There it is. I'm glad you grabbed it. Yeah, the same thing with like the last names and stuff. We just do like the initials and stuff like that. Ray says, my husband is giving me looks. Ooh, I shouldn't have said that out loud. Oops. Okay, Ray. Good night. I love your husband, by the way. He puts up with all of us. The Lady Joker says she was cooking and she asked Facebook to guess the meal. When he responded, she said, it's not about you, CW. He wiped a tear away. She says, don't choke Dieter in this video. Wow. What is her fascination with choking? Strangling. She said she could just strangle him every time she looked at him, talking about her husband. Okay, if it was a man making a video and posting it on social media saying every time he looked at his wife, he could just strangle her, what would society say? Abuser. Sandy says, have a good one, Ray. Ray says, see you soon, Bobs. Aaron says, Ray, have a good rest of your night. Thanks, Doc. Who's Doc? You guys are faster than I am here. Let's see. Kay Cooper says, OMG, y'all. Did y'all hear that Australian guy Dave is trying to prove? Okay, take out that part too, Kay Cooper. I'm not sure. Should we or not? Because that's not really a name. I don't know. I just won't say it. That Australian guy Dave is trying to prove, quote unquote, prove that one of SW's previous employers had what? No way. No way. That is ridiculous. Are you kidding me? Is he that hard up for content? Seriously? You have got to be kidding. Ugh. Aaron says strangulation and suffocation. SW mentioned that a lot. She sure did. She had the death language going, didn't she? Over and over again. Deathly allergic, severely anaphylactic, right? If that dog doesn't stop barking, how did that go? That if the dog didn't stop barking and it woke up the girls who were probably taking their naps at the daycare center, she didn't say that part, that was me. If the dog doesn't stop barking and he wakes up those girls, or no, she said she's going to strangle the dog before if his barking wakes up the girls, and she strangles, and then she stopped herself. And then she said the dog, which of course that sentence makes no sense at all. Oh, I'm going to strangle the dog before he wakes up the girls, and I strangle the dog. What? I think she was about to say, I'm going to strangle the dog before he wakes up the girls, and I strangle them. And I don't think it's that far of a reach, right? Again, look at the sentence she said. I'm going to strangle the dog before he wakes up the girls, and I strangle the dog. And that hesitation she had, I'm going to strangle the dog before he wakes up the girls, and I strangle the dog. You see what I'm saying? What's a heart emoji? Did I miss something? Oh. I get it. The part that I didn't get before. And I'm scrolling for that. That whole deaf language is freaky. Very freaky. Do you remember the Facebook post she did cutting down her mother-in-law? The whole less than routine where she didn't want the girls to feel less than. I think she felt less than probably all of her life, which is really sad. Well, you know my opinion on that whole Australian routine, right? I don't trust that channel at all. Not at all. I don't trust any of those channels. Erin's going to get some sleep. Thanks for a rational, sane conversation. How sweet of you to call us rational and sane. All of you. Hope to see you all soon. I'm glad you were here, Erin. Thanks for jumping in. And yes, this is where the rational, sane conversation takes place. I guess when they call us, crazy old women and all that crap, we should just say thank you. Proverbs says, Kay Cooper, he's on the money train. Plus, he's talking to the Watts as if they need his help. Do you really believe he's talking to the Watts? Come on. Haven't I taught you better than that? Do you think any of those yahoos are actually talking to the Watts? Come on. I don't think so. I really don't think so, and I'll tell you why. Because a couple of the people who have been claiming they have been talking to the Watts, the only thing they've said so far is stuff that we've already said from actually talking to Cindy Watts. I don't think they're talking to any of them. Maybe Jamie, I don't know. But I don't think they're talking to the Watts. I don't know. Can you guys name one channel that you think isn't on the money train? Seriously? I think they're trying to make money. I think that's it. And if you look, there's another case that they're all jumping on. Again, trying to make money. They're not true crimers. Those of us who are actually crimers know that the way they're handling themselves is not at all how the true crimers really act. You guys want to hear something funny? absolutely not at all connected with the case of Christopher Watts. It'll just be a little sidetrack here, and then we'll hop back on the case. Okay, for at least a few decades, I was told by a genealogist that we have American Indian blood. Okay? I was told all about this princess from a Canadian tribe, blah, blah, blah. And we all have black hair and it's beautiful and thick and, and we have the high cheekbones and the whole bit, right? Now, my gynecologist told me, no, I don't. And I thought he was wrong. My OBGYN, he said, no, he said to me, you are, I think he said French. I'm trying to think. And he told me, get this is the wisdom of back in the day. He told me, based on my skin elasticity, and they tested the skin elasticity by my arm, okay? And this is something that they did, whether we knew it or not. They did this when you had your first baby. Basically, there are different expectations for, well, it's about skin elasticity. So go ahead and let your mind explain it to yourself. He said, no, you don't have American Indian. He said, you're French, right? But I've always thought, I think we have Native American. So I actually hired a genealogist who specializes in Native American tribes, Northern American tribes. And I actually paid her money to do a total search, right? And if I knew exactly how to contact her, I might ask for a refund, because we just got the, the results from that, whatever it's called, that, I don't know what it's called, sorry. That whole DNA thingy, right? 99.99 Caucasian. Yes, that's it, Sandy. 99.999 whatever Caucasian. And guess what? Miss Mensa is French. Kay Cooper. Oh, I'm sorry. You must not be French. But I see by your comment that you get what I'm saying. So I thought that was kind of cool. Exactly, Sandy. He was right the whole time. He was a really cool OBGYN, let me tell you. He was like the coolest in town. And you couldn't get into him. He stopped taking patients like years before. But back when I was 18 years old and I had just graduated from high school, I spent the summer working for a major department store. There were 6 of us who were on kind of a special team. It was really cool. We had a lot of fun and we made a ton of money. OMG. And one of the girls on the team, that was her OBGYN, and she was a year or two older than I was. And you know what? Back in the day, we didn't have an OBGYN until we were adults, right? I think it's a little bit different now, right? You know what I mean? So, and I had moved to the big city. And she said, he's the best. And in the entire city. And I called and they weren't taking new patients, of course, because he was the best in the city. And so I said that to my friend, he isn't taking new patients. And she said, oh, my dad golfs with him. Don't worry about it. I'll get you in. And she did. And I'm so thankful she did because he delivered all three of my babies. And oh my goodness, he was just wonderful. He wore a bow tie for each delivery. He was always there for his patients' deliveries. He made it a point to be there. So anyway, he knew. He pinched my arm and he knew that I was French. How's that for cool? Kay Cooper says 94% Caucasian. Cool. Very cool. Yeah, I thought that was neat. It was just neat to see that, right? Especially after paying the genealogy lady who specialized in the Northern American tribes, right? And she gave me the whole story. I should have known better, right? I think I had gullible like flashing in neon on my forehead or something because she did this thing explaining to me how they didn't put the names on the marriage licenses and birth certificates and stuff and whatever, and I'm believing all of it and thinking, wow, 1/16th, really? Yeah, I think I should get a refund, but I don't know even if she's still with us on this planet because she was a little bit older and that was way a long time ago. Kay Cooper says, I'm Dutch. North America. What? North American? What is NA? What am I missing? West Indies and Scottish and German. Wow. You're like a Heinz 57. We have a little bit of English thrown in and a whole lot of French. Cool. So you're kind of like the princess. Sandy says the whole Native American princess that got R-worded seems to be a common story in Caucasian Americans. Okay, so Native American, Dutch, Native American, West Indies, and Scottish and German. Wow. Kay Cooper says, hey, y'all, do not ever give birth in the state of Louisiana. Ever. Sandy says, I'm 73% Scottish. The rest is Irish and Eastern European. European. Very cool. Yeah, that whole American princess, or the Native American princess thing, I don't know if there were as many descendants of the Native American princess, routine as I think people are told, that would, yeah, the math just doesn't work, right? Kay Cooper says, I know my dad's side because, that's right, you're the princess of the island. Native American. Crystal says, did you see the Facebook Live where she is selling clothes inside the home and handing out sample bites of you know what to the women, 2 jobs at once? All I remember from that video is how poor little Bella was hungry. You would think if you're going to be entertaining a bunch of people in your house trying to have a yard sale indoors, because let's face it, ladies, she was having a yard sale, that you would feed your child first. Sandy says, in Caucasian Americans who say they haven't, yes. There's my first yawn. Oh my goodness, it's after 3 o'clock. If my clock's right. It is after 3 o'clock. No wonder I had a yawn. Who wants to say goodnight, John Boy? Are you guys Eastern Standard Time? Exactly, Sandy. Exactly. And what's with the little nothings, right? You know, a sliver of this and a bite of that. Kay Cooper says, a yard sale in my dining room, but sorry, no table. LOL. Lots of love. Yeah, I've never heard before, ever. I've never heard of a dining room table being repossessed, for Pete's sake. Sandy says, PST here. So you're more awake than I am. Yeah, that repo on the dining room table, that was interesting. Kay Cooper's in North Carolina. 3:04 a.m. So my computer is right. I never know for sure. Okay, it's time for Miss Mensa to get some beauty sleep now. I got all of my hair cut off for the Locks of Love thing. They took 12 inches off. I was blabbing about that a couple weeks ago. And I'm still very happy I got it cut off too. Sometimes I'll get my hair cut off like that and then I'll go like dang, you know, a week or two later. But I'm still thrilled. I love it. But I need my beauty sleep so my hair will grow so that I can give another 12 inches to Locks of Love. Star Mama says, good night, Grandpa. I thought I clicked that. Here we go. Good night, Grandpa. It's 2 o'clock here. Night, Bobs. Good night, Star Mama. Sandy says, I actually should be asleep. School starts on Monday. Sandy says, wow, that's awesome. I thought it was really awesome. And then I was told that I could have sold it and gotten like $1,000. And I had never heard of that at all. About, I guess people pay big bucks for it to make weaves and stuff. And I had my hairstylist said it's virgin hair because I don't color and I don't perm or anything. And I have thick hair and it's fine. And so evidently having virgin hair that's thick and fine and it's like, I would call it brunette, I guess. I don't know. That could have pulled in like $1,000. So I'm like, dang, you know, I would have much rather sold it and then maybe donated. You know what I mean saying? I don't know. I didn't want to like call my hairstylist quick and sound like a weirdo. Sandy said, thank you for donating it. I'll tell you, it was a little bit of an emotional decision because I go to the same hairstylist all the time, like for years. And before my mom died, he and I were talking about, I think at that time, cutting off 10 inches. Maybe it was 12. I think it was 10 in order to give it to my mom to give to the wig maker when my mom was going through her whole chemo thing. And then she actually died sooner than we realized. And so we were talking about that. And then I thought, you know what? Yeah, because somebody else's mom will be able to benefit from it, even though my mom passed away before she could. Kay Cooper says, when will you be back again, Mensa? We missed you. Aw, I love you guys. And I'm so sorry. I've just been way too busy. And I think about you guys every single day. And especially these different videos. I have my list all set of all the videos I'm doing, and I just keep going, oh my gosh, I've got to get these done. I feel so bad about it. So, and tonight I just thought, okay, we're doing a live chat. Because at first I thought I should get those videos up and then do a live chat. And then I'm like, nope, we're doing a live chat. Let's just do this. Summer Breeze said, I found out last week what Bob's means, but now I've forgotten it. Yeah, and we can't tell, Summer Breeze. Sorry. You can guess the first B, right? If you guess the first B, you pretty much got it. Crystal says, only thing that was in the public information autopsy was a gallstone. Exactly. Endofibro lupus, blah, 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 bullshit. Hey, Dolo. Dolo says, don't stay away so long. Good night. I won't. In fact, I'm thinking of probably bugging you guys on a pretty regular basis here in the next couple weeks. So we'll have so many live chats, you'll get tired of them. How does that go? I think it was Trump who said, you're going to get tired of winning. Kay Cooper says, oh, no. Sorry, I thought you were making something. I didn't realize it was a serious comment. I'm going to start over. Kay Cooper says, oh, no, I'm so sorry for the loss of your mom. It was actually quite a few years ago now, Kay Cooper, but thank you. That's very sweet. It was just kind of an emotional thing about that whole lacks of love thing, because that's what I love about having such a wonderful hairstylist, because it's like he's a friend, I love hearing about his life and his marriage and all the fun things he has going on, and like he knows everything, right? He's just such a sweetheart. So we were talking about that, and because I was in law school at the time, and I was actually trying really hard to graduate before she passed away. I was trying so hard that I signed up for way too many credit hours. And I'm trying to think, because I did the winter, the summer. I did 2, maybe 3 terms in a row where I had I know one term I had 17 credit hours, which if you know anybody who has graduated from law school, then you know that it's okay if you have 4 credit hours. It's still hard, right? It's okay if you have 6 credit hours. It's difficult. Signing up for 17 credit hours was almost impossible. It was as close to impossible as it gets. And the hilarious part is I made it on the dean's list when I signed up for way too many credit hours. But I was trying so hard to graduate before she died, because that was just something that just really mattered to her. She used to talk about me at her chemo things after she passed away. A friend of hers from the chemo, how you make buddies and you schedule at the same time and stuff. He called. He was a snowbird, living in Michigan and then wintering in Arizona. And he said so many really sweet things. And he said, one of the things that he said was that she always referred to me as her lawyer daughter. When I wasn't even, I hadn't even graduated with my JD yet. And she was like, yes, this is my lawyer daughter. And anytime I'd write a book, she would get copies for her friends. Hey, this is my lawyer daughter. She wrote this. So I was trying really hard so that she could, experience vicariously through me that whole graduation thing. And then she died in my last term. She died sooner than I thought she would. She was one tough chickadee, though, let me tell you. She was one tough chickadee. It was very important to her to live in her own home, to be as independent as possible, and she really pulled it off. Proverbs says, do a marathon. Okay, let's do it. I'm not sure we'll do a marathon like all at once. I think what we should do is like a Miss Mensa marathon where we do like let's do a live chat like every day. Boom, 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 boom. You know? We can call it the Miss Mensa marathon like part one. We'll do the marathon that comes in different legs, right? Different stages. Thank you, Kay Cooper. I appreciate that. And it is very healthy too, you guys. Even though I have been too busy and it has been really I don't know if I want to say stressful or just like so much going on. At the same time, it is kind of nice to have a little bit of a time frame where I don't know, it's always nice to have a time frame where people aren't calling you names and stuff, right? I laugh. But if any of you guys do start to feel kind of stressed by all the garbage, even just like I would say number one, always say a prayer of protection because some of that garbage that you're looking at out there is evil and it comes from a very terrible place of evil. So seriously, you know, say a prayer of protection and guard what you're listening to because some of the stuff that they're saying and some of the ways that they're, you know, banding together and pulling their shit, it is evil stuff going on. So really protect yourself. And then the other thing is if it ever starts to just bug you, or if you start to just go about any part of it, take at least a couple of days and just refuse to even look at it, you know? Hey, Jeanette's here. I haven't seen your name in a long while. Jeanette says, hello all, missed you. What a treat to wake up to. Yeah, we're just saying good night now, Jeanette. Your timing's just, impeccable. Kay Cooper says, yep. Our hairstylist double as our therapist a lot. Exactly. He's the best therapist ever. And the thing is, he is so loving and so sweet and kind. Like, his hugs are the best, right? Proverbs says, I'm sure she was very proud of you. Aw, sweetie. Proverbs says, I'm going to start calling you Dr. Mensa. That'll piss off the scumbag attackers. That would be kind of cute, actually. That would really piss them off, though. I don't know. I don't know if they need to be more pissed off or not. You guys are fun. Kay Cooper says, your mama was there in spirit and forever in your heart. Exactly. And it really felt like that at graduation. It felt like that, It was cool. It was cool. And I did it in 3 years, too, which is kind of cool. And again, if you don't know anyone who's been through law school, who's earned their Juris Doctor, it is a tough, it's very challenging. It's very difficult. I have respect for anybody who has earned their Juris Doctor because it is one tough program for sure. And I remember doing it in the 3-year time frame where most of my classmates were 3.5 to 4 years because it's that tough. And of course, they weren't doubling up on classes and, I just think there's something kind of hilarious about making it on the dean's list when I was in way over my head. I thought that was kind of an interesting time to make it on the dean's list was when I was not able to even do all of my homework, There was just too much. Sandy says, I'm going to get to bed. It was really nice chatting with you all. Have a good night and stay safe, everyone. And Sharon's here. Yay, Sharon. Yeah, I still can't find you to unblock you on the other one, so I'm glad you showed up. Crystal says, release the DNA results on SW's fingernails, the girl's throat swabs, and the finger and footprints on the 2 bags, and we can all go home from this case. That's a really good point. That is a really good point. if we're so stupid for questioning any part of this case, then I guess prove it, right? But no, instead, we're told that we will never know the truth. We're told that we will never know the truth. What that tells me is that we have yet to hear the truth. So, of course, we're going to question it all. What was it? We'll never know the truth because they don't tell people like us. And you know what? Even if the truth was actually revealed, we'd still be talking about the case because there's a lot to talk about. Especially, in my opinion, why were Bella and Cece not removed from that home long before the tragedy occurred? So, on that note, let's go ahead and say goodnight. We'll do this again soon. In fact, I'll go ahead and say this. Let's do this again tomorrow. But just don't ask me what time, because I've got to get all my other stuff done first. So, when I accomplish a few things tomorrow, then I'll go ahead and hop on and we'll continue this conversation. Everybody have a wonderful night, a wonderful Sunday morning, and we'll talk again tomorrow. Good night, everyone. And I'm really glad you guys came. Good night.